guys, what we're going to look at today is word problems involving quadratic equations. Now right here we have our first example, which is involving a rectangle. This rectangle has length of 3 centimeters, longer than its width. Its area is 42 centimeters squared, and we want to find its width. So the first thing we want to do is set up our rectangle, and we know that the width, let's say the width is equal to x, and the length is 3 centimeters longer than that. So let's say the length is x plus 3. We also know that the area is 42 centimeters squared. So we have enough information to set up our equation. In this case, we know that length times width should equal the area. So we end up with x times x plus 3 equals 42. Let's expand this a little bit. X squared plus 3x. And also move this 42 over to this side. Minus 42 equals 0. From here, what we want to do is use the quadratic equation. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So, plugging in for b, we end up with negative 3 plus or minus square root of 9 minus 4 times negative 42 all over 2. Simplifying this further, we end up with negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 9 minus 168, plus 168, get that negative, all over 2. Now if you simplify this yet further, we end up with negative 3 plus or minus square root of 177 all over 2. If you plug this into your calculator, you would end up with two answers. You'd end up with negative 8.15, and you would also end up with 5.15. Obviously, x cannot be a negative number because we can't have a negative width or a negative length. So we know that the width in this case must be equal to 5.15. Okay guys, so this is our second example, and the second example involves the sum of a number and its reciprocal is 5 1/5. So we want to find that number. In this case, the word reciprocal might be new to some of you guys. The reciprocal is simply the inverse. So if I say the number 2, the reciprocal of the number 2 is 1 over 2. Or if I say a number like 3 over 5, the reciprocal of that is 5 over 3. So the sum of a number and its reciprocal, we could say the number is x and the reciprocal is 1 over x. So the sum of those two is equal to 5 1/5. We want to find x. In this case, I really don't like to have x and 5 in my denominator, so I'm going to multiply this whole thing through by 5x. And I'm going to end up with an equation that looks like this. 5x squared plus 5 equals, getting that 5 out of there, 26x. From there, let's move this 26 back over here. We get 5x squared minus 26x plus 5 equals 0. And from here, we can factor this. We end up with 5x on this side, x on this side equals 0. And we know that they both must be negative. So we have negative and negative here. And if I put a 5 here and a 1 here, I should end up with the right answer. So, in this case, I would end up with x equals 1/5. And over here, I'd end up with x equals 5. And as you can see, 5 and 1/5 are reciprocals of each other. So either one of these numbers is correct, right? 1/5 and 5, either of them would fit the definition right here. Okay guys, so here's your practice problem for today. The sum of a natural number and its square is 210. Go ahead and find that number. I'll see you guys tomorrow.